What's going on, everybody? John here from Bearded Outdoorsman Chronicles, and I just wanted to address a question that I get asked a lot by fellow hunters, friends, so on and so forth. And that question is, what stand do you prefer, or method of hunting out of a tree do you prefer, and why? For me, personally, that's a little bit of a loaded question. So I need a little bit more context than that to answer that question to my full capability. I'll try to go ahead and address that here today. This might be a little bit of a lengthy video due to that, but I just want to give you guys my honest answer and perspectives. So for hunting out of a tree or any elevated hunting, essentially, there's a handful of options. You have saddle hunting, climbing tree stands, hang on tree stands, ladder stands, and then some guys hunt out of box blinds with heaters in them. I am not that fortunate, so that one's automatically rolled out for me. I'll go ahead and knock ladder stands out next, because I think that's pretty cut and dry and to the point. I personally do not like ladder stands. I could see in some applications them being great. They are a fairly affordable way to get elevated up off the ground. They're a lot more comfortable for maybe the younger generation or even older folks to climb. You know, you have a ladder with rungs on it, pretty simple way up and down. And generally speaking, they're typically around 16 foot, maybe a little bit higher. I don't like them because I bounce around a lot. I don't own a large tract of land where I could throw up a bunch of ladder stands, and they're heavy. Hanging them by yourself is doable, but it's typically not a great time. So ladder stands, I don't use a single one. Now to jump into the other three methods, we still have hang-ons, climbers, and saddle hunting. With climbers, I used them for a lot of years. I loved the mobility that they provided. You know, throw your climber on the back, you have a rope tied to it, something to hang your bow or rifle with, and you can take off. You're good to go. Where climbers kind of fell back for me, I still have a few, but I don't typically get them out. The downfalls to the climbers are you are kind of limited on what tree you're going to be able to get in. Generally speaking, you need a straight tree with minimal to no branches. Now you can carry a saw, cut branches off as needed. I've done some sketchy stuff in my younger day where I've disconnected them to get over branches. I do not recommend that. But generally speaking, they do serve a good purpose. They do aid in mobility. You can get around pretty well with them. They are extremely comfortable in most cases. You know, it's like sitting in a lazy boy compared to some other methods. But just being forced to hunt where I can instead of where I want sometimes, especially in archery season, was enough to kind of make me transition away from the climbers. They are also a little heavy and bulky, and it doesn't seem to matter what I do. I couldn't avoid making that metal on metal clank sound with them. I could have mold taped or moleskined or hockey taped or something the entire stand just to prevent that, but like I said, I just ended up kind of transitioning away from the climbers. So that leaves us with saddle hunting and hang-ons. For me, my absolute favorite method of hunting out of a tree is a preset hang-on. To me, nothing beats that. You can walk in the woods before daylight, climb up the tree, get in your stand, you're good to hunt. When you're done hunting, you climb down the tree. You walk out. You're not carrying anything back and forth with you. You get to leave everything in there and just use that as a very convenient, easy method of hunting out of a tree. Now, if you're hunting public land or somewhere where you have to be a little bit more concerned about leaving presets out in the woods, you know, especially if you're running some of these more expensive hang-ons, you're probably not going to be too comfortable leaving them in the tree permanently. You can take the bottom stick or bottom two sticks or if you're using the screw-in tree pegs, you could back out the bottom 5 or so just to try to prevent other people from getting in there. Unfortunately, at the end of the day, you're likely just keeping an honest person honest. So if you don't have the capability of leaving them in at least through the season, they do lose a little bit of their allure for me. I do have some lightweight hang-on tree stands that I will be a little bit more mobile with, but at the end of the day, if I have to pull it after every hunt, I'm most likely going to shy away from the hang-on. Not that it's that much of a hassle, especially with some of these newer platforms that are out, but I just love a preset with a hang-on. If I have my choice, that's what I'm going with, if at all possible. Even if I could just leave it for a couple days, there's a good chance that I'm going to go that route. Now, another thing with that preset hang-on is that's only going to be in a place that I have vetted well, and I know that's going to be a solid place that I'm going to want to return to time and time again. So from that, that's a good segue into saddle hunting. Saddle hunting is a newer thing, like almost a fad in the hunting industry, and I think it's here to stay. It's a great method, and where it really shines to me is the mobility. If I am hunting a new tract of timber or trying to figure out an area and don't know exactly where I want to funnel in on these deer, or hone in on these deer rather, I find saddle hunting to be the perfect niche for that. So where saddle hunting really shines to me, I've kind of alluded to there, is how mobile it is. You know, you can throw everything in your pack, throw your saddle on, and off you go. And it's nothing if you find out that you need to shift 40 yards, 60 yards, 100 yards to one direction or another. You can climb down the tree, pack everything up real quick, move that distance, climb back up the tree, and get reset. So saddle hunting has really killed climbers for me personally, because while saddle hunting is lighter than a climber, it also has a huge benefit that, unlike the climber, you don't need that perfectly straight tree with minimal branches. You can work around a lot more with a saddle, a lot easier than you can with a climber. The drawbacks to saddle hunting, some people experience pinch points with the saddle itself. I haven't experienced those issues myself, and it's kind of pricey to get into. You know, for what you're going to have to spend to get your platform, your saddle, your lineman's rope, your tether, and you may or may not already have your climbing method, sticks, screw-in steps, what have you. You can pretty much buy almost any, I'll call them a flagship hang-on, or almost any climbing tree stand as well. It's not that cheap. And another big drawback to saddle hunting, in my opinion, is there is a shelf life on all this equipment. So if you actually read the labeling on your lineman's, your tether, and the saddle itself, a lot of the manufacturers out there are only going to recommend that you use a saddle for about 5 years. And the ropes, I believe, are typically 2 to 5 as well. So this is equipment that you're going to have to continue to replace and buy. Now, controversially, with the hang-on, you should buy new straps every couple years, things like that too. But the price of a strap to use for a hang-on is a lot cheaper than all of the saddles and ropes that you're going to have to buy with saddle hunting. Now, obviously, use your discretion. I'm sure a lot of folks out there probably aren't going to follow those manufacturer recommendations, but it is just food for thought. That's kind of why I needed to dive into this a little bit deeper, though, is, as you can see from this video, it wasn't a cut and dry answer. It's kind of situational. It depends on what kind of hunting I'm doing. You know, is it private land? Is it public land? Can I leave equipment there? Is it a spot that I vetted well and I know I'm going to continue to return to? Or is it something that I want to go out, learn, jump in the saddle, break my set down every night, and bring it out. And I take all those factors into play every time I'm going out to hunt somewhere. You know, if I need to be more versatile and maybe can't trust to leave equipment there, I'm going with the saddle. If it's a spot that I've vetted and hunted for years and don't have to worry about other individuals tampering with my equipment, I want to do a preset hang on. The climber, as I alluded to earlier as well, typically just sits in my loft in my shed. I don't get it out much. I will say though, I do miss rifle hunting out of a climber because it was pretty comfortable, and you have a shooting rail or the tree 360 degrees to shoot, which was pretty nice. But if you rifle hunt out of the saddle, the tree's right in front of you to use anyway, so it's not totally missed. But yeah, it's hopefully a little informative for you, help you make the decision on what method of hunting out of a tree is going to be best for you. As always, I'd be happy to answer any additional questions in the comments. But that's my 2 cents on what method I use and why of hunting out of a tree in archery or rifle or flintlock season. Until next time, shoot straight, and thanks for watching.